Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled, "Neighbor ran a huge extension cord from his home to my property to steal my electricity." I will never understand why people think that just because someone is old does not mean that they cannot see the crap that is going on around them. Now, while the home is technically my property and house, I'm not the main person living there. I travel a lot for work, and when I say a lot, I mean that I am home maybe half the days of the month. When I am home, I am not seen much by the neighbors, so some might be surprised to hear that I live there. The person who is mainly living in the house is my mother, who after my father died did not want to live alone or in that house anymore. As her only child, I of course let her come and live at my house, where she could still have her privacy and independence, but still have someone else living with her. Anyway, neighbor did not realize that I existed and slowly started taking advantage of the fact that he thought the only occupant of the house was an older woman. My mother, though, has all of her faculties and can very clearly see the stuff that neighbor tries to pull on us. She actually did not tell me much about it until around the holidays, when she was so upset and told me that she had gotten presents for me and her friends. But they never came to the house. She is not great with technology, but she knows how to order and track, so it says they got delivered. She does not really understand how the Ring camera works, and I mainly have it in case there is an emergency when I'm not home and someone breaks in. Looking back at past footage though, I can see neighbor coming up to the porch repeatedly and taking boxes off of it and running off. This got me angry and asked my mother to tell me if there was anything else that was going on that I did not know about. It turns out that she'd been having problems with the neighbor for a while now. She did not want to tell me because she was worried about me having any more stress on top of my job. She is a treasure of a woman. I find out that this guy has also been deciding trash cans were too good for him and instead has just been dumping his trash on our property near where we keep the bins. I probably would have been angrier, but I still thought the theft was the bigger issue. I put in a police report that basically did not lead to anything, because as anyone who has had a package stolen before knows, they don't care in most places. Maybe someone out there lives in a place where the police would have done something, but it is not here. Instead, I told her that if he did anything else, to call me right away, even if I was away for work. After years of taking care of me and helping me in life, I was not about to let anyone walk all over my mother. It only took about a week before I got a call from her about the neighbor. She kept saying she was sorry to disturb me and did not know what to do about it. I was actually on a train home and would be there in a couple of hours. Still, I asked her to tell me now so I could be up to date when I got there. It turns out that neighbor had taken one of those giant extension cords that I honestly only ever see for like outdoor Christmas decorations and ran it from his property to mine. I already knew what he was probably up to, and the fact that my mother told me the lights kept flickering confirmed it in my mind. Neighbor was actually trying to save money by stealing electricity from my home. A decent amount too, since I asked my mom to turn everything she could off and there was still barely enough power to keep the essentials going. I was fuming mad and could not wait to give neighbor a piece of my mind. I was always taught by her to keep a level head though, and instead I called the police and explained the situation. They told me it was not emergent, but they promised to get someone out as soon as they could. I got home and was there for about an hour until they showed up, and I took them out back to show them. They asked both of us if we gave neighbor permission, and we both told him we didn't. Another officer who was following the cord came and said that it seemed to be hooked up to a generator. So yeah, it was clear he was stealing my electricity. I asked the officers if I could come when they knocked on his door to talk to him as well, and they said as long as I was civil, it should not be an issue. When they asked him why he was stealing my electricity, he looked totally shocked. He said that he wasn't, and his grandma lived next door and was letting him use her electricity until he had money to pay his bill. I then finally informed him that I was the owner of the home and the woman he claims to be his grandma was actually my mother. He went pale, not realizing that I owned the house and that he was not going to get away with it. He tried changing his story, but the police could tell that it was a total lie after that first story and arrested him. He ended up getting charged with quite a few things, surprisingly. Apparently, theft of services is a thing and applies, and it's not exactly the same as regular theft. If he stole something, he would owe what he took and then a fine. For theft of services though, they don't want to just slap you on the wrist, and it is hard to estimate the worth of what was taken and how it can be rectified. Those things all seem to be at the discretion of the judge to a certain degree. This one gave him community service and forced him to pay the cost of what our monthly electric bill would have been. Again, he tried to claim my mother told him he could and probably just forgot. After hearing from her, they could tell she was sharp mentally and did not believe him. I know that some of you are going to ask me, since I got him arrested for that, why I did not get him for the stolen packages at the same time. Since it was a totally different crime, it would have to go to trial separately, and like I said before, the police did not really want to pursue it either. Since it was my mother also that got the packages, I did not want to make her deal with all of that if she didn't want to. She didn't, and said that the right thing to do is to just let the presents go. Honestly, she was my level head in this whole thing that caused me to not say or do anything that he could have probably used against me. And ripe stars, if you still enjoy the stories about crazy neighbors, then please don't forget to like the video and maybe even post some star emojis in the comments if you wanna support the channel. Thank you so much in advance, your help is very much appreciated. The next one is titled, "If I quit, the company is done." I worked phone sales for a catalog company, bilingual Spanish and English. For several months I would take the Spanish calls and translate everything to the customer on the phone while I took their order. I decided, screw this, and typed up my own little 2-page catalog in Spanish, all the most popular items which I would copy off and send to the customers. This was in the 1990s. My average call time went from 5 or 10 minutes per call down to 2 or 3. It also put me in the top 3 salesmen for the company for the next 3 years. I kept telling management they were missing out, but they would not pay attention, so I kept sending out my little rinky-dink catalog and quintupled the Spanish sales while nobody was looking. Management still did not get it. A manager, I will call Helen, was a particular pain in the butt, and after a year I packed up all my stuff, leaving just enough that it looked like I was coming back, signed with a temp agency, took my vacation and then called in sick until my sick days were gone, fully intending to walk in the door and quit on my return. When I came back, Helen was gone. I changed plans and stayed with the company. A year later, and a manager, I will call Helga, was causing me just as much pain as Helen ever did. I packed up all my stuff, signed with a temp agency, took my vacation, and well, you get the picture. I walked in the door and now Helga was gone, leaving me the snippiest, pettiest, most immature middle school drama-inspired parting letter I have ever seen. I decided to stay. Another year went by, more drama. It was a call center after all, and I decided I had finally had enough of being treated like a peon. The money was good, I was still top 3 in sales, but management was still blinder than the average bet and was now giving me a hard time about my typed, Xeroxed mini catalog. I found a job a lot closer to home, gave them my 2-week notice, sent out the last of my catalogs. The 2 part-time Spanish speakers that were on staff were immediately overwhelmed and one of them quit. They tried to hire several workers in the next few months and most of them quit. A year later they had settled on a staff of 4 to do my job and were still trying to put together a Spanish version of the catalog. I went on with my life. 6 years later the job I had taken moved all of its production from Latin America to China, and as I did not speak Chinese, I was let go with a decent severance package. A friend told me the original company was now a better place and I applied for my old job back. I walked in for my interview and it was the shortest, easiest interview ever. "This is just a formality, we really want you back." I worked there another 4.5 years. The next one is titled, "Don't pay me for my work, bad idea." This happened early 2000s. I used to be a freelance front-end dev and a search engine optimization guru. Back then, getting on the front page of Google was pretty simple. Link exchanging was popular but risky. I never did that, but I did have a single website that had serious PageRank clout due to it being linked as a trusted source directly from one of the top and most trusted websites in the world. I would use this website for the best clients to get their PageRank and search engine position leapfrogging other older and more trusted websites. One day I was approached by someone I will call Bob. Now, Bob sold travel packages. He needed to revamp his basic existing website with a complex website built with pretty tricky back-end coding. I could do the front end, but I had to hire a back-end dev to build the functionality. Bob had a major launch in a month's time and it had to be ready. I usually ask for 25% deposit up front, but Bob said no. He was stung by the last dev and was not going to lose any more money. Now, from the moment I met Bob, my gut was telling me this was going to end badly. The problem was I needed the money, and it was worth quite a lot of money for me and the dev. I skipped the deposit on the promise he paid in full before it went on his server. Bob agreed. For an entire month we worked day and sometimes all night to get this done in his time frame. With a day to spare we had done it, and I'd never been so proud of what we had achieved. I was honestly excited to show Bob. The next day I sent the link to my test server and he phoned me to discuss it. Bob said everything looked good, but he was worried his server's PHP version may be too old to run it. I assured him it would, but he said he was too scared it won't and we would scrub our hands off it. We went backwards and forwards, but he was insistent the site has to be uploaded and tested on his server before he parts with a penny. I chatted to my dev. He did not like it either, but agreed we would upload our work onto his server. Bob gave me the FTP details and server login, and I uploaded the site. I told him it was live and then nothing. I sent several emails and then phone calls. The emails went unanswered and the phone went to voicemail. Sensing a major problem, I rushed to my computer, fired up my FTP program to delete our work on his server, and access denied. He had locked us out and the following day he went live with our work. For several days I tried phoning until one morning he answered the phone and said, "Listen, I'm not ever going to pay you and there is nothing you can do about it." And then Bob hung up. Rage was a good word for my feelings. I was shaking while I still held the phone in my hand. For the next hour my range of expletives was growing in complexity. As I sat there figuring out what to do, it hit me. Revenge will be mine. I registered a new domain name, which was Bob's Travel domain name, plus sucks at the end. If Bob's website was called Bob's Travel, I had purchased bobstravelsucks.com. I uploaded our work, basically an exact mirror of his live website, onto my new domain. I used all my powerful mega PageRank domain to link to my new sucks domain. Within a month, my website jumped above his website in Google for every conceivable search phrase you would use for the packages he sold. No matter what you typed in, my site was the first result and his was always below mine. During that month, I created a second website which was Bob's full name with sucks at the end. On this second website I posted what happened, screenshots of his emails and warning everyone what a con man he is. Bob had a somewhat unusual first and last name. Again, within a month my website was above his own personal website. I then forgot all about it. About 4 months later I get a cease and desist email from a solicitor's firm. A quick Google showed the solicitor's firm was made up and did not exist. I reply back with, "I'm not ever going to take them down and there is nothing you can do about it." Every now and then I would get emails from people he had conned by taking their money for a travel package but never booking their package. I had put those on both of my websites, making sure those juicy, important keywords, his full name and company name, were spread across each negative review. A few more months pass and I get an anonymous email linking to a new domain called My Name Sucks. I'm told to remove my two websites and he will remove this new one. A quick search and what do you know, it is not even on Google. No one could find it. I reply back for a second time with his comment to me. As each month passes, I am getting more and more people emailing me saying they have been ripped off. I keep adding them to my website. Turns out the travel agency world is well regulated and they started an investigation into Bob's company using my website as their main tool. I get a call from Bob. Bob is not a happy Bob, in fact Bob is more of a desperate Bob. Looking at this text now, I know you can almost hear the despair and resentment in Bob's voice. Bob pleads and literally begs me to pull the sites down. Not only is he being investigated by the Travel Agency Association, but he had some very important friends that did not appreciate the bad press he was causing in their circles. He offers to pay me the money he owed, nothing more, just what he owed. For the third time and with a massive smile on my face, I say, listen, I'm not ever taking them down and there is nothing you can do about it. Roll on a few months and I discover his travel company has been removed from all travel associations. No matter what you typed into Google, my website outranked his, and all the bad reviews on my site were the first thing his potential customers would see. I crippled his business so badly it went bust. During the collapse, one of his ex-employees contacted me and told me how hard he had worked to get my website off the first page. He had registered dozens and dozens of other domains in the hopes some would jump ahead. Little did he know, only the top dozen websites in the world could jump it. Apparently, his property was tied into loans on the failing business and he lost his house too. It took me just about a year to turn his business from a cash cow to a dead cow. Motto of the story: if you ever think to mess with the deaf, don't do it. Many of you, by the way, are saying I should have taken the money and not pulled the sites down. At that point, it was not about the money. He thought he could simply buy his way out of it after pretending to be a solicitor and then trying the same thing on me. Him knowing I did not care about the money anymore must have driven him crazy, because money was all he cared about. He then knew he could do nothing to stop his business going down the pan, and all he could do was watch it all fall apart around him. The next one is titled HOA Tried to Evict My Pet Pig. What would you do if an HOA tried to take a family member away from you? Well, I can tell you what I did. This family member is not a human, but that doesn't mean that we all love him and cannot live without him. My kids used him as a fluffy pillow. He rings the doorbell when he wants to go outside and he pouts when he feels ignored. Becca Brown says her pet Piggy, a 35-pound purebred potbelly pig, is a family asset who cuddles with her 4 children and loves to go for walks with Alfred and Lola, the family's miniature dachshunds. Her homeowners association says he is livestock and that keeping him violates the community rules. Both sides have hired attorneys. Piggy has become a beloved member of our family. Our 4 little girls would be devastated to lose their pet, Brown said. I just want to make sure that the kids don't get hurt around Christmas. Piggy has lived in the Star Lakes Homes Association for a little over a year. He comes when he's called and spins for treats. Before getting the pig, Brown said she checked with the county and learned that pot-bellied pigs are allowed as pets. They did their research and thought it would be okay. The Star Lake Homeowner Association found out about the new addition to the family a month later. The HOA said they would look into it. The family thought they were in the clear, but then in October, more than a year later, their HOA's attorney notified them, saying they would have to register the pig as an emotional support animal. The family didn't want that. They wanted Piggy to be recognized as a pet. We were shocked to get that request for documentation. Our defense was that he is a common household pet, just like our dogs, she said. In December, the family received another letter from the HOA's attorney, who said they had 7 days to get rid of Piggy after the 20-day warning period expired just after Christmas. HOA regulations say that swine and other animals are not customarily regarded as common household pets and are not allowed. When the association made the document, they were probably thinking of a 300-pound pig that will wallow in mud, said attorney Morgan Bentley. But if the case goes to litigation, that is what the court is going to have to figure out. Is a potbelly pig a farm animal or a pet? Bentley, who's been in practice for 26 years, said that many HOA regulations can often be outdated, especially as they relate to farm animals. Brown said she has a birth certificate to prove Piggy's purebred status and a letter from her veterinarian reinforcing that he is a pet and under her care. County officials said the impasse is a civil matter between the Browns and the HOA and that zoning regulations are separate from an HOA's rules. The code also says that purebred miniature pot-bellied pigs are not considered farm animals when they are not kept or raised for food or product and would therefore be viewed as a domestic animal, said Donna Thompson, zoning administrator. The county does not get involved in homeowner restrictions. The big picture, of course, is that an HOA can be more restrictive than county ordinances, said Bentley. Just because it is allowed under the county doesn't mean it will be allowed under the homeowner association. I don't know the word for it. It is awful. It is stressful, Brown said. It is upsetting that this is supposed to be a happy time of the year, not a time where you have to be worried about losing a member of your family. And yeah guys, as usual, that is just the fascinating, not necessarily positive thing about HOAs, simply that they go above and beyond even county ordinances, and sometimes it feels like they are even above the government, or at least they think so. In addition, I'm sort of curious, I know that some of my viewers have lived or are currently living in HOAs, and what would you do if the HOA decided out of the blue that your exotic pet maybe is not a real domestic animal and therefore has to be evicted, or simply you cannot keep the animal at home anymore? As the person in the story said, this is not just about an animal but a family member, which makes it even harder. Anyway guys, now let's read the update, the fortunate update to the pet pig story. Piggy can stay at home. The Browns family 1.5-year-old pig has been the subject of a lawsuit filed by his family to declare him a household pet so he can continue living in their subdivision. The rules of this subdivision forbid pets that are not common and not traditional. But now a district judge ruled that evidence is clear that this pig breed is considered a household pet and that they are not used for commercial purposes. He also said the dispute puts a spotlight on homeowners associations' restrictions and residents' property rights. I think we need to forget about this being about a pig for a moment and look at the broader issue of homeowner associations and residents. The judge said, homeowner associations are there on one hand to maintain a neighborhood in a particular way, but they also have responsibilities not to infringe too much on homeowners' use of their land the way they see fit. And by the way guys, in response to this statement, I can just say, God bless you. Truer words in regards to HOAs probably have never been spoken. Then Mark Rabe, or Rabe, I'm not sure, attorney for the association, argued in court on Monday that it wasn't necessary for an expert to determine what a common and traditional pet is. He said the association's regulation implies there is a critical mass of pig ownership that needs to be reached in order for the animal to be considered common. He noted that within the rules of the association, a majority of residents could amend the restrictions to include a pot-bellied pig, but that has not happened. This ruling marked the first time a Vietnamese pot-bellied pig has been recognized as a pet in court, but it also set a precedent to let homeowner associations know they cannot micromanage their residents. And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously, and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.